2019-2020, the Black Summer bushfires were accelerating across the coast of New South Wales and Victoria. The Currawong fire began in southeastern New South Wales and rapidly spread north, burning through almost 500,000 hectares for 74 days. Around the Shoalhaven's coastal towns, 80% of bushland was decimated. While so much was lost, people from all along the coast quickly banded together to provide urgent assistance to the local wildlife. I'm at Falls Creek, 15 minutes south of Nowra. During Black Summer, this area was surrounded by bushfires. Fortunately, the Majoru Emu Farm and Animal Refuge was spared. It's a private property turned into a sanctuary by wildlife vet nurse Belinda Donovan. What animals do you look after here?
So we basically take in whatever animal the phone call is about. I, at the moment, am primarily full with wombats, and we do a lot of reptile care and seabirds. We do a lot of seabirds as well. Oh, he still doesn't want to give up, so we don't give up.
What was it like for you here during the fires?
We were threatened on both sides of our property, so we were really busy trying to fireproof our property because 60 acres is bush, so we were worried about our emus and our wombats in care. But in terms of wildlife rescue, strangely enough, it was quiet, and that was odd. And that's part of what happens, I suppose. The animals are in such dire circumstances. We don't get near the fire grounds, obviously, for safety. And then the calls start to trickle in some weeks later. So the animals that do surface are really in a bad way. They've been there for weeks, possibly dehydrated, with burns.
So we're looking at a boy and a girl?
Yeah, this is a little boy, Teddy, who came to buddy with Tiggy because they do so much better when they raise with another wombat.
How many wombats are you caring for at the moment?
At the moment, we've got 14. Generally, we have about 10, and sometimes it can get to 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is the face of contentment.
Oh, it's milk drunk, isn't it? We call it milk drunk.
While Belinda's extra workload is overwhelming, the local community has rallied behind her. Today, a team of volunteers with Wildlife Stations Shoalhaven, or WSS, are here to offer a helping hand. Tracy is the WSS coordinator.
So we came together in January 2020, straight after the bushfires raged up the south coast and towards Kangaroo Valley.
What are you up to today?
We're doing our 7th volunteering bee. We come and we help out, we weed, we build, we clean, we muck out. We assist any way we can to make the wildlife rescue carers' life a little bit easier.
The large number of injured animals being cared for in refuges is a tiny portion of those affected in the wild.
We've now distributed over 40,000 kilos of fruit and veg, hay and pellets to wildlife in bushfire-affected areas.
This committed group of locals have been working hard to help the wildlife surviving in the remaining patches of bush. Jen Chopping is a team coordinator in an area that was ravaged by the bushfires.
We're in the Bushlands behind Manana. It's about 3 hours south of Sydney. So we're having a look today at the wildlife stations that we as a community have set up for our wildlife after the fires. There was really nothing out there for them. So we've put out water stations, feed stations, and we come back on a daily basis and monitor what's happening out there with our wildlife. So we fill these pots most days. We've got them in all different locations.
These high ones, I'm guessing, are for more of the tree dwelling.
Yeah. Sugar gliders, possums, birds. We put these pellets out for the roos and the wallabies.
It looks very green, but there's not a lot of grasses.
No, and this is mostly weeds that the animals don't eat, so we're still substituting for a bit longer anyway.
Despite the weeds, time and rains have encouraged the return of native vegetation, with eucalypts and geebungs having a burst of growth, herbaceous species resprouting, and bracken and native grasses emerging from the soil. What was your personal experience during the bushfires?
My journey started in Narrawali. I actually swam across the inlet and hiked along Conjola Beach. And as I was going along Conjola Beach, the fire impacted right down to the beach. And unfortunately, I was to witness the torture of all these poor animals that were burnt on fire and diving into the ocean. It was really horrific to watch that. Still upsets me. I was one of the lucky ones, I guess, to make it through that. And here I am now, looking after our wildlife, hopefully getting them through.
The wildlife is starting to come back. It's still very quiet compared to what it normally is, but they're slowly coming back. It's really interesting. A lot of the kangaroos and the wallabies seem to be having joeys younger. They seem to be smaller when they're having them as well. The really important thing is they wouldn't be reproducing if they didn't have enough feed, so that's an encouraging sign.
The recent bushfires have had a devastating impact on communities, but it's so inspiring to see locals coming together to look after each other, the wildlife, and to help restore the land.